Now, the season is officially over. Anthony Davis suffered a mid-foot sprain and will miss at least 4 weeks. The official word is that he'll be reevaluated at 4 weeks, which means that he could actually be out even longer if he's not progressing as expected at that point in time. There's only about 6 weeks left in the regular season. Obviously, the hope is that he gets back before the playoffs and they can make a little run. But it's not looking great. The Lakers have been terrible this season, and a big reason for that is their health. Of course, there was the whole COVID issue that everyone had to deal with. Many of the players were out due to health and safety protocols. But also just regular injuries kept the Lakers from being whole. The team hasn't had enough time together to be able to gain chemistry. But most importantly, LeBron, AD, and Russell Westbrook have only played a few games together this entire season. This team was built with the idea of having a big three. As a result of all the money being tied to the 3 max contracts, the rest of the roster had to be filled with minimum contracts. So the team can't be as deep, and the supporting cast hasn't been as good as it has been in the past. So the success of the team is reliant on the big three playing at a high level to make up for the lack of talent on the rest of the team. The problem with this construction is that the big three haven't had much time to play together. For most of the season, one or more of them have missed games, either due to injury or other reasons. And even when they do play together, one of them is not playing at a superstar level. Sometimes even 2 of them aren't playing at superstar levels. And the rest of the team is not good enough to make up for one of those missing stars. So for many of the games, it's just been LeBron and a bunch of scrubs trying to be competitive in basketball games. And it hasn't worked, which is why they have the record they have and could potentially miss the playoffs. Clearly, this roster is poorly constructed. The supporting cast is so bad. And that's just the nature of having a big three. All your money is tied up to your superstars, so you can only sign veteran minimum contracts for the rest of your roster. But even so, it shouldn't be this bad. You should be able to get players that can at least contribute somewhat and can stay on the floor. A lot of these guys that they have shouldn't even be in the league. You got guys like DeAndre Jordan, Kent Bazemore, and Wayne Ellington, who can't be trusted to play meaningful minutes. Most of the veterans are getting outplayed by the few young guys that they have. Austin Reeves, Malik Monk, and Stanley Johnson. And that's another problem. Most of the players are old as hell. So they're either washed up, injured, or can't play for an extended period of time. Oh yeah, and they lack size or any defense on the wings, which is arguably the most important position in the league. So really, the only way to save the season was to improve the roster. And they failed to do that at the trade deadline. They made no moves. We're stuck with this sad excuse of a roster. Technically, they could sign someone off of the buyout market, but I doubt any of those guys would want to sign with this shit show. So now, the only hope to make a run in the playoffs is to gain chemistry with the current roster. And that's centered around the big three. Building chemistry with your 3 superstars and hope that their talent is enough to carry the team. Well, now that's out the window too, because Anthony Davis is going to be out for pretty much the rest of the regular season. The best case scenario is that he's back in exactly 4 weeks. then maybe he gets to play a handful of games before the playoffs. I doubt that's going to be enough to really gain significant momentum. And even if you manage to get in the playoffs, you then have to face either a tough Phoenix or Golden State team who are playing extremely high-level basketball and have great chemistry. It's not looking good for the Lakers, and it's becoming more and more likely that this is just another wasted season. I said the season was over when they didn't make a trade at the deadline, because we're stuck with this roster and we've already seen how bad it is, even with most of our guys healthy. But now with AD out, it pretty much makes it a certainty that the season is over. The one positive is Russell Westbrook tends to play better the fewer superstars there are. And maybe he starts to improve his game enough to make him a more attractive trade piece next season. If he starts to look closer to the Russell Westbrook we've seen in the past, and he starts to stat pad, plus he's on an expiring contract, we may be able to trade him this offseason and move on from this failed experiment.